So hello and welcome to Durga-ma Neon Rays of Discernment. This is a class that is near and dear to my heart and at times has even intimidated me to work with Durga-ma. So the timing of this class is based around the recent new moon, and then we had Friday the 13th. And this past Friday the 13th of 2018 marks one of the integral days and transitions into the awakening of the divine feminine. Many in evolutionary astrology believe that this past Friday the 13th was the marker of the new matriarch, as opposed to the old paradigm and the patriarch, which, if you've been keeping plugged into any kind of metaphysical, new age, or astrological reports, this time since the Mayan calendar's end or transition in 2012 has been about the death of the patriarch, right? The rulership of man and the hatred of woman that is within all of us. The rulership in man in a woman, what that means is to rely heavily on our action as our means of proving our worth in this world. And so the transition out of that into the divine feminine means a lot of things. And it's not like it's just, poof, here's the divine feminine. It takes work. Many of us, most of us on this earth who have skin bodies have been in the hatred of woman and in this patriarchal belief system and belief structure and action structure for all of our lives. So depending on how many times you've cycled in your soul experience. So Durga-ma Neon Rays of Discernment is a very new energy. Any form of light work that is neon or comes with a bright neon level of ray is brand new. It is not something that is ancient or old. And the neon rays are here to assist us to transition into this new time. And so we're going to look at what that transition means, how to work with this energy, how I received it, and how you can work with it, even if you don't move forward with this class or receive the attunement that comes with it to assist that energy to activate new light codes within yourself in order to awaken on a smoother level the divine feminine. That attunement is meant to really to help with the removal of certain obstacles and to break down certain belief systems or energetic blocks that are keeping us cycling in this old way. And if you've been cycling in that old way, you know how painful that can become. And sometimes we get to this jumping off place in which we are so ready for a new way of life, and yet we have no idea how the hell to get there or how to heaven to get there. So this school really was given to me in a time when I was, and still am, in that same transition, and it has made it a lot smoother. So this first slide is Durga-ma Neon Rays of Discernment. This painting is by Courtney Kaiser of Star Seed Creations. If you want more information about her or how to look at her other work, please do feel free to reach out. She is an incredible, inspired, meditative artist who brings very high vibration work into form. So I wanted to point out within this painting, it is also right behind me over my shoulder. I just figured it would be easier for you all to see if it was on a slide, that these stones that are the skulls that typically are seen around any Durga statue. Those skulls are meant to represent the skulls of the demons. Durga is the demon slayer. She is the destroyer of evil. And yet she comes with a form of power, of feminine power, that has yet to truly be actualized in the majority of living beings today. So my friend and artist Courtney Kaiser, who was painting this for me when I first received these transmissions, she painted using the typical symbols, the shiv, the hook, right? The dagger, the arrows, the lotus. However, the spindle representing the Dharma wheel. However, in many depictions of Durga, instead of this axe, and most of the ones, if you look them up online, instead of this axe, there'll be a sword. And yet, Courtney was meditating and she was calling in this mantra, and she was called to place an axe there instead, without knowing the history or the emanations of Durga in the various parts of India where she is praised as the most powerful and the strongest of all 33 million faces of God or deities within the Hindu religion and faith. So this axe has a special meaning to it. And so the sword, the same as in angelic practices, like Archangel Michael carries with him a sword, and that sword is to cut away the lie, right? To clear, not to injure anyone, but to keep them safe and to bring truth. And this axe is actually the axe of discernment. And so it is used to cut off the heads of the demon so that the lightness of the being can shine. And we'll get more into that. So try to keep an open mind if this jargon is a little new to you. And really pay attention to if you experience any discomfort at this energy, these words, this image, because that to me would be par for the course. Similarly, people have feared Friday the 13th, and we're going to get into why that is, because it's a very similar kind of taboo. All right, so introductions. The slide is moving at its own pace. So my name is Angelique Marie of Heart Evolver School of Liberation, heartevolver.com. And I am a Reiki master in a number of different schools of Reiki. I am a Sakine master, which is Egyptian-based energy, or SKHM master. I'm a cosmic shaman, which means that I work with light medicine as opposed to plant medicine. I don't have anything against plant medicine, but those of us who already have connection to God do not require substance in order to make that connection to God or Goddess. And so I work with people with the light, and we are able to have clear vision and or develop clear vision, come into it without the plants. And I love the plants, but I don't need them. So, how I received this energy school. Essentially, it started to call out to me, and I had no idea that it was calling out to me. This mantra, one of the mantras of the two mantras that I work with within the school, started to just move in my head. I cannot remember where I heard it. I think maybe it could have even been a YouTube video that I was passing one day or that played while I was sleeping. And but this mantra just got stuck in my head. And so I would find that I would be sitting down and using this mantra and speaking it, sometimes 1,000 in a sitting. It just kept calling to me. And while I love practicing new things and changing things up, it's something that really grabbed my attention on a daily and consistent basis for about 90 days to start, through the spring and the summer of, I'm going to say maybe 2015, 2014. So, so it called to me and I began to work with it, and I had no idea it had a connection to Durga. And so here's another depiction of Durga, and she is typically, in this image, she is with the sword, right? And so either are okay, and she rides on a lion or a tiger. And the funny thing is once you're on a tiger or a lion, you don't get off, right? You keep riding. So the tiger and or a lion totem will have a lot to do with a protective energy as we work through the practice of Durga and the shadow work that comes with this school. So, so I continued meditating and working with this certain mantra, and then after probably about 4 months, all of a sudden a second mantra came in, and I thought, oh, it's a new practice. I'll be working with a new practice, and yet these two started to come in together. So I would speak the one for a full round of the mala, and then I would be drawn to speak the next. And so I really got into that as a practice, and that carried on for approximately 120 days, which that's just not my norm. I'm not that consistent an individual with any single practice. It is probably the most consistent puja, right, or dedicated mantra practice I have ever had. And if you think that this is what this class is going to ask of you, trust me, it's not. There's a lot of free will in the way that you work with this school. However, you may be drawn into it, right? It will depend on your own relationship to this vibration. What I did discover is that the first mantra that I was given in association with the school softens the direct Durga mantra that I used with the school. There are a number of different Durga mantras, but these two mantras that I work with that have to do with the Shiva energy and the Durga energy are really well paired together. And so it was actually while there was a day when I had a couple clients come in for my Reiki practice to receive. And both of these women had requested discernment as their intention, right? Whether or not they were comfortable using, or if it was a typical word for them to use the word discernment. And I'll get more into that, to what discernment is. But it was on that day that, and I have been working toward it as well, because Durga is a great teacher of discernment. And which simply put is to see clearly, to see the truth beyond my ideas, to see what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is not, what is pure and what is evil, right? And to recognize those energies not within a duality, but within the reality that we live. The difference between, as a healer, I had always had the ability to see the beauty and the infinite potential of the human beings in my life, whether they were family members or abusive folks and relationships, or friends or clients. But it came a time where that caused more damage because I was refusing to see. I had a very closed mind. I refused to see who people were choosing to be and then to act accordingly. So I found myself surprised on many, many occasions. And so on that day when those clients requested that as their intention, it amplified the intention that I already had. And that day I received the downloads for this school in one foul swoop, originally perceiving that that's how it should be given. But it is typical, and if you know me, you know, it is typical for me to receive a huge amount of information or download, and then it doesn't work for others to pass it on in that same way. And you know, I have to be mindful of that because it's not about microwave enlightenment, right? And it's not about how fast. It's about the quality of this and working at your own pace so that you can get the most out of it. So, beautiful light filling into this room right now. And I just want to acknowledge, I see a kind of light being owl in between myself and the camera. I don't know if that'll be visible in the recording, but let's move on to this next slide. So, divine feminine awakening. So I believe that this school really is in concert with this timing, right? So as I mentioned before, the number 13 and how it correlates to the feminine shadow, right? Now, a number of us have done shadow work or have heard about shadow work, but shadow work is not about going to what is bad. Shadow work is about going to what we have lied to ourselves about, in the sense that we have called it bad. And so that's a pretty gentle difference. And it's a really important difference between what really is shadow work. Right? So that fear that we have of the dark and what lies there, it's just a collection of the stories we've told ourselves of how dangerous it is to walk in the unknown, right? And the unknown is the unconscious, right? So the unconscious aspect, you cannot become aware of what is unconscious in you. It is unconscious. And if you become aware of it, it is no longer unconscious. Now, there are ways to coax information and story and messaging up from our unconscious into the pre-conscious, which is pretty much the peripheral vision of the mind, and then into our consciousness. But that takes time, and that takes a lot of work with spirit, with pure divine creation, because it is truly beyond human, it's beyond human design. So we need helpers. So whatever helpers you work with, you will continue to work with them, and they will help you a lot within this practice. So the light is incredible. Okay, so the number 13, now Friday the 13th relates to Frida, right? The Nordic goddess, and Venus. They are one and the same energy. So the goddess. 13 is the 13th moon, which is said to be the goddess's moon. So this fear that people have around Friday the 13th or taboo is really just a fear of the powerful woman that is within all of us, right? The powerful feminine that is within all of us, regardless of gender. And so how it correlates to the feminine shadow is it's the taboo of what is there in the dark. And I shouldn't go there. I'm not allowed to go there. And allowance and permission will be gateways within this energy work. Because the only one who truly can give you permission to face your fear of the dark is you. And the only one powerful enough to take that footstep forward is you. And it will be helpful to continue to call on spirit or your guides to enact or activate the courage that is in you, that has been waiting dormant to move into this level of work. So the current astrological shifts that support this work: Uranus entered Taurus just a little bit ago, a couple months ago, and that's a 7-year transit, so it's going to be sitting there for a long time. Anyone who has Taurus in their chart, and all of us have Uranus within our charts, but depending on the degrees where it sits, is the more you will become very aware of this transit. But all of us will experience it to some degree. And most of us experience it in the form of a craving for liberation and for financial and physical security. So if that's been gnawing at you or stirring you up or moving you around, it certainly has been moving me around, then you know you're in the right place. Additionally, Chiron, an asteroid which represents our deepest wound, entered Aries. I believe that was in May. And so Aries is the masculine, and Chiron is the deepest wound. And the deepest wound in the masculine is the hatred or loathfulness toward the feminine, because all of us have both the masculine and feminine, right? So the undivine masculine is, in one example, an action of war, an action of violence, whether it's to you or to me, or whether it's to someone else or yourself. It's the action of violence. It's all the same, right? It's the deepest wound. And so that transit has a lot to do, and that will be over this next year or so, that we'll be moving through that inspection and healing of the deepest wound of the masculine, which is really the injured feminine. We additionally are in a triple eclipse season. So the first of the eclipse was the day that I posted this, which was, I believe, I believe it was the 12th. Could have been the 11th. I'm losing a little track of time. But that was also on a new moon. And so it's a very powerful time to really start this new cycle and to call this into form. And so I trust that those who are ready will appear, and that this work, as you do this for yourself, it will strengthen all of your feminine bonds, both within and without, with yourself and with all the women around you, and with all those who carry the feminine within them, which means within all beings. So the work and devotion. So the mantras that we are working with, the first of which is the Shiva Mantra. Now, why the Shiva Mantra comes first is because Shiva is the permeating force of creation, which runs through the entire universe. And so that force is perfect love. And so it is said that one of the demons had requested exit from the aspect of dimensional blockade, right? That this demon was stuck in order to exit and go visit down on earth and into the physical realm. And Shiva, having no judgment, allowed the demon through, because Shiva loves regardless. And so this demon starts creating all of this havoc and all of this disease and famine and sickness and corruption. And so Shiva, realizing his mistake, his misallowance, but knowing that he has no ability to take back, because he has no ability to do anything other than to love, the purest form of divine masculine, the action of love. So from Shiva's desire to make it right, Durga was born of Shiva, from that one desire to have a form that could make it right, which must be feminine, because ultimate power, ultimate strength is feminine. So Durga goes down to earth and is the only of 33 million emanations of God, right? Now you might think, oh, there are not 33 million, there's only one God. And that is true. And if you speak to somebody who's in the Hindu or the Jainist faiths, Jainism is a sect in Hinduism that is more feminine based, then they'll tell you that humans we lack the imagination to be able to understand all the powers of God. And so it gets placed in these different beings within that faith. But the understanding is that there is one, beyond the conception of human beings, understanding. However, as the story goes, Durga goes down and she ends the demon's rampage. And then she continues to go about making things right. Right? So she is an energy that we can work with to help us make it right in ourselves, where both heaven and hell exist simultaneously, not just as options of thought, because we have an unconsciousness, right? And so that unconsciousness, there'd be no way for us, nor would it be either. I wouldn't ever desire to go down and try to purify my own unconsciousness. So this is not an analytical practice. And if you are a person who lives between your ears, let me tell you something. You will not successfully be able to do that in this. Now, can you always self-will your way through? Yes. But in this practice, that would be known as the demon. To go to the head rather than allowing the heart. To surrender one's old ideas. The idea that your brain can assist you to manage in this world. And if you look at your own life as evidence, I am sure you will see logically that while the brain is great for some things, it is not what needs to be the ultimate leader moving forward. That is the old paradigm. That is the patriarch, to lead with the brain. And the new paradigm, the divine feminine awakening, is to lead with the heart, to center and ground and anchor in the heart so that the wisdom can be passed up, to be translated and spoken, to be understood in the mind, but to be born in the heart at the strongest frequency and magnetic energetic center of all the organs that we have, from the heart to the mind. And so the first mantra is Soham Shivam, Soham Shivam, Soham Shivam, Soham Shivam, Soham Shivam, Soham Shivam. So you see how that created clarity even within the light around me, right? So it is a very clarifying, soft mantra. For those of you who are afraid of your own voice, this will be a great opportunity to let go of that. This mantra calls us to give into its melody, to its sway, and to the vibration that it carries. And so it's not about showmanship, but it is about giving over, surrender to the voice. And even if that voice shakes, speak it anyway. Speak without trying to listen to yourself. That is the power of letting go of the analytical mind. To let go of our self-centered self-evaluation and just to allow ourselves to participate. The second mantra of this practice is, which for me, it starts out in one piece and then it will just take me. It just moves. So I'm not going to, when I'm filming things, sometimes my mind wants to get involved and shift it. So I'm just going to stay as neutral as I can. Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. So those are the two mantras that called to me and that I worked with and that revealed to me a lot of light. So we're not quite done yet. But this is the video aspect of the PowerPoint. I'm going to pause, get a few questions from the gallery, and then we'll come back and do a basics meditation for this practice using the mantras, and you'll get to learn them step by step. So, welcome back. If you took a break, as we took a break, and just so you know, if you've never taken one of my online classes before, generally there's always time for Q&A, and I pause the recording so that your image, likeness, and sound are not being placed on the interwebs for other people to see and hear. This way we create a private and safe environment. So in the second half, we're going to work with these two mantras, which, as I said, if you wish to work with them without taking the rest of the course, then you are more than welcome to do so. And I hope that they do for you what you need them to. So it was asked at the break to show the spelling of these mantras. So we're going to go back to our PowerPoint momentarily. So the first mantra, so participants are muted, and you at home obviously cannot be heard by us. So so really let her rip on these. So we're going to do just 3 of, no, we'll do 7. 2, 3, 6, 7. Of the Soham Shiva Hum, and then we'll do 3 of the Om Dum Durgaye Namaha, so that we are comfortable with them. And then we're going to do 108 of the Durga after 54 of the Shiva Hum. So 1, 2, 3. Soham Shivaham, Soham Shivaham, Soham Shivaham. We're going to pause there. So as you're speaking this mantra, or any mantra, instead of trying to make your mouth or the sound come up, I want you to imagine instead swallowing the sound, that it's coming in from the mouth down to the heart. Ready? And we'll continue. Soham Shivam, Soham Shivam, Soham Shivam. One more. Soham Shivam. And then we'll just do 3 of the Durga. And first we'll do a slow pronunciation. So repeat after me for each of these so we can combine it smoothly. Aum. Doom. Durga-ye. Namaha. Aum. Doom. Durga-ye. Namaha. Ready? Okay. Aum Dum Durgaye Namaha. Aum Dum Durgaye Namaha. Aum Dum Durgaye Namaha. Good. Okay. So that gives us a sense of pronunciation and light. So I'm going to get out. I won't get out of the share, but I'm going to enlarge the screen, see what happens with the beautiful rainbow violet light that's coming in. All right, so remember we're going to start with Soham, and I'm going to give you a reason why on this. So the top mantra, Soham Shivaham, it is the softener, it is the non-judgment. So any of mantras that you work with will help to smooth out the judgment. When I have, and I have on numerous occasions, worked directly with just the Durga mantra, it can be really, really intense in a way that I don't always prefer that as a feeling or experience. So it's a kind of holy fire. So, and you're welcome to experiment with that and see what just the Durga mantra gives you. For now, though, we'll just be moving forward with the Shiva Mantra to begin. So, if you have your mala, if you're not sure how to really work with mala, then don't worry, I'm keeping count. And when we get into the class, if anybody has any needs for learning how to work with mala effectively, especially with Hindu mantras, we want to be using the middle finger as the lower finger and the thumb as the counter, not the index finger, okay? So middle fingers, and the index finger can just be shot forward, okay, or curl up. It doesn't, there's no standard on that. Ready? Okay. Softly close your eyes, and in between the mantra sound, if you can remember to bring the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Remember that this sound, it's not about song, but it's about vibration and awakening this vibration in all the cells of our body, as well as throughout the energy field. Okay. Soham Shivaham. Soham Shivaham. Soham Shivaham. Soham Shivaham. Soham Shivaham. Soham Shivam. 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 Allowing your eyes to remain closed. Draw in the light that fills the energy field. That light was created as you spoke that mantra. And now we internalize it so that it can begin to fill the cells of the body. Drawing in, if you are familiar with the alternative breath pattern of the nasal, in left, out right, then begin in that pattern, in right, out left, in both, out both. If not, then just draw in, breathing from the top of the nose as if it was drawing in through the third eye, passing down, delivering light to the throat and the heart. Tip of the tongue rests on the roof of the mouth. Now we move into the Durga Mantra. Om Durga Namaha. 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 Om Namaha. Om Doom Durgaye 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 Namaha. Draw that mantra in, down in through the crown, passing through the third eye, passing down through the tongue, which is rested at the roof of the mouth behind the front teeth, awakening the throat, planting roots at the heart, and pouring straight down into the energy in and around the ovaries. Whether or not you have your physical ovaries, the area of the feminine, remember that the light is infinite. You are calling on an infinite source of light. And it is filling your energetic system and awakening the most powerful and the strongest force within you. So as that light pours in through the central channel, through the crown, allow for the blockades, the shadow, to pour up and out as that light flows in through the ovaries, up through the energy in and around the tailbone, and up through the spine. Allow any blockades to just softly release, not through your thinking, but through your allowance. Soften out through transmute, surrender. Surrender to the greatest aspect of you, which may still be the unknown. But once you initiate your invitation, the process begins. Softly release the meditation. Allowing 3 exhales, emptying the lungs out through the mouth. May the divine feminine awaken in us all. Set us free. Free from ourselves, free from our ideas, free to truly see the light that exists for all of us. Thank you so much for joining. I'll be ending the video aspect now. Feel free to write with any questions. If you wish to order this course, my PayPal ID is angeliquethefew@gmail.com. I'll put it in the notes. May the light be with you so that you might release your fears of the dark.